Hello and welcome to a short homework help video for page 38 number 8 and page 40 number 10. This is from the variables and patterns packets that we've been using. We are in investigation number 2 and have worked on 2.2 and 2.3 investigations. So now we're doing the homework section. So for number 8, it asks us to suppose a motion detector tracks the time and distance traveled as you walk 40 feet in 8 seconds. Match the following time distance graphs with the stories that describe each walk. So I'll help you get started on some of these. One thing to help us out when we're looking at this in particular is really important to identify where time is located, which axis, and distance. Where is that axis? Now in an ordered pair, we have this looking like x comma y. So I know that time then must be on the x-axis, and y is where I'm going to place the distance. So in looking at this, I can help myself by remembering that these are time. I'm going to do that for all of these graphs. And while I can write on this to help me indicate what this could look like, I do want to write my answers on a separate sheet of paper. So then next, when I look at distance, distance is going to be on the y-axis. I'm going to have a slightly harder chance writing this one, so let's see if I can do it a very particular way. Hold on. Oh, that does not look very clean. Let's see if I can try that one more time. Okay, so I'm going to write that once, and let's see if I can just copy that, because writing on this is very challenging for me. So if I copy that, I'm going to then paste it right there. And then paste it here, and then paste it here, and then paste it here. Wonderful. Okay, so we've got these graphs of time and distance. Now I want to just focus on one at a time, so I'm actually going to look at the stories A, B, C, D, and E to then help me match those graphs to that particular story. Now, when I look at A, it says, you walk at a steady pace of 5 feet per second. Now, steady means that I'm not going to increase or decrease my speed. It's just going to stay the same. And it's going to stay the same the entire time that I'm walking. So there's only one graph that does not change. It does not curve. It doesn't stop. And that would be graph number 3. So on my separate sheet of paper, I've titled this Variables and Patterns, Investigation 2, Homework page 39, number 8, and page 40, number 10. So for the first one, when I take a look at A, I'm going to indicate that I have this option of a steady pace. And the only graph that works with that is graph number 3. So I have this sketch that I'm adding in just to remind myself, if I have time on the x-axis and distance on the y-axis, my steady pace is going to be a linear graph going in a diagonal upwards pattern. Now the next thing I'm going to do is take a look at B, and B is actually telling me I have a slow pace at first, and then it steadily increases. So what I do is I'm going to take a look at those graphs again. I'm going to go back to the original. And which of these graphs to me lets me know that I have a slow start and then I increase my pace as time goes on. So a slow start is indicated like this. So I'm going to be able to indicate this graph. I'm going to draw it where there is kind of a dip, if you will. We're going to indicate that this is going to be how it's going to be. I write for B a slow at first and then steadily increase. So this is going to allow me to indicate right here is where that slow start is happening. And then it increases as time goes on, the distance increases at a higher rate of change. So that's where this kind of scoop comes into play. It goes slow and then faster. Okay? So then I'm going to take a look at C, and C tells me this. I'm going to go back to the original again. C says you walk rapidly at first, then pause for several seconds and walk at an increasing rate the rest of the trip. So, because I start walking fairly rapidly, and then I pause, and then walk at an increasing rate, I want to make sure that I'm indicating that kind of succession. So rapid, and then I'm not really walking a whole lot, and then I start walking again. So the only two graphs that will really indicate that could be graph 1, could maybe work, and graph 5. Now, I'm going to argue that we don't want to see, let me get these things out of the way, that we don't want to see the complete stop. Because while I pause, it doesn't say I necessarily stop. And it also tells me that I've got this slow at first, or this rapid at first, rapid at first. So this guy here, to me, would indicate rapid more than this guy here would. So that's an important piece to kind of be aware of when we're looking at this. So then the next step is going to be to add in this next frame. So I'm going to help you with C, the last one, and then you're going to do D and E on your own. So when we do this, I'm going to add in the next graph for C. And this indicates, I'm going to get the eraser out. And for C, it indicates that it's rapid at first, and then there's a pause, and then you increase. I would say that this looks closer to the graph shown here. Now make sure you label which graph this is indicating. Okay, is that graph 1, 2, 3, or 4 or 5? Okay, go ahead and do D and E on your own. Hopefully this gave you some description as to how you got these graphs, and at least A, B, and C are almost completely done out for you. A is completely done. B gives you a nice sketch, and C also gives you a sketch, but doesn't identify the particular graph number. Thank you for tuning in. We'll take a look at number 10 here momentarily. Alright, and here we are with number 10. This is the graphs below shown 5 patterns of change in the price per gallon of gas. Match each time/price, comma price, graph with the story it tells. So again, we're using this idea of it's telling us a story. So this is X and this is Y. So time is on my X-axis and price is my Y-axis. So I'm going to be able to label each one of these guys. So time is here. And I'm going to make sure that I, copy and paste that to all the others. So you're going to be writing time on the X-axis. And then price is going to be on the y-axis. So price is right there. We're going to copy and paste. Making sure that we label all of these. Okay. So on this graph I've got time and price, and I have 5 different graphs that I need to match A through E. A says the price declined at a steady rate. So going a decline, I'm going to have the opportunity to use either graph 2 or graph 3. Or graph 3, there we go. Those are the only 2 graphs that start out as a decline. So for A, decide if you're using graph 2 or 3. Now again, we're writing these on separate sheet of paper just like we did on number 8, so you can see kind of that sketch and graph kind of organization. So for B, it says the price did not change. So this is going to be a straight line, and you're going to have to decide if it's going to be graph 2, graph 4, or graph 5 that indicates that for you. So the price rose rapidly and then leveled off for a while and then decreased or declined rapidly. Now, there's only one that actually changes directions, and the one that changes directions is graph number 1 right here. It goes and starts in a positive way and then shifts and goes into a negative round. D says the price rose at a steady pace or a steady rate. And E says the price dropped rapidly at first and then at a slower rate. So take your pick. I gave you some nice hints on those. Go back and rewind if you would like a couple of extra moments understanding what I had indicated and why those graphs worked. So thanks so much for tuning in, and hopefully this helps you with your homework. Take care. Bye.